Imagine finding out that something that feels completely harmless, something many seniors do every single morning because it seems comforting, convenient, even responsible, is quietly forcing your blood sugar into dangerous spikes that strain your pancreas, damage your blood vessels, and accelerate the exact health decline you have been trying to avoid. Does that sound dramatic? Unfortunately, for millions of older adults, it is not. There is one common habit that happens in kitchens, dining rooms, and retirement communities every single day without a second thought. And the frightening part is that the people doing it often believe they are making a safe choice. In the next few minutes, I'm going to show you exactly what this hidden trigger is, why it becomes far more dangerous after 60, and how repeated blood sugar spikes can silently contribute to nerve damage, memory decline, kidney stress, vision problems, and metabolic exhaustion before obvious symptoms ever appear. Because here is what most people do not realize. Aging changes how your body handles glucose. The same breakfast, snack, or healthy routine that caused little trouble at 40 can create a completely different biological reaction at 70. And by the time your body starts sending unmistakable warnings, the damage may already be well underway. Doctors see this pattern constantly. A senior feels more tired after meals, more brain fog, more nighttime urination, more unexplained cravings, maybe shakiness, maybe irritability, maybe that strange afternoon crash they blame on age. But what if it is not age at all? What if the real problem is a daily habit triggering invisible glucose chaos over and over again? And what makes this especially dangerous is that many people doing it believe they are being healthy. What makes this especially frustrating is that none of this is new. The research on post-meal glucose spikes, insulin resistance, and age-related blood sugar dysfunction has been sitting in respected medical journals for years. Clinical trials have repeatedly shown that certain everyday dietary patterns dramatically worsen glucose control, especially in older adults whose insulin sensitivity has already declined. And yet, most seniors are still handed the same generic advice. Watch your sugar. Eat healthy. Take your medication. But nobody explains the hidden triggers buried inside routines that look perfectly harmless. Nobody explains why one senior can eat the exact same breakfast they have eaten for 20 years and suddenly start seeing fasting numbers climb, energy collapse, and A1C drift upward. And I think you already understand why that conversation rarely happens. Because systems are built around treatment after dysfunction appears, not exposing every preventable trigger before it does. Let me be clear. This is not about blaming your doctor. Most physicians are working inside appointment slots so short they barely have time to review labs, adjust medications, and answer urgent questions, let alone break down the metabolic chain reaction caused by seemingly innocent daily habits. But the knowledge gap is real, and the consequences are real. Because after 60, your body plays by different rules. Your muscle tissue becomes less efficient at clearing glucose. Your pancreas has to work harder to release insulin. Your liver becomes more likely to dump stored glucose when it should stay quiet, which means habits that were once metabolically manageable can become silent sabotage. And here is the betrayal most people feel when they finally learn this. They were trying to do the right thing, trying to be disciplined, trying to follow the advice, only to discover that one repeated healthy routine may have been hammering their blood sugar every single day without them ever being warned. Margaret, 72 years old. She had been taking blood sugar medication for nearly 9 years. Every appointment looked the same. Fasting glucose still too high. A 1C still stuck. Her doctor adjusted the dose, then adjusted it again. Still the same pattern. Morning readings in the 150s. Afternoon crashes that left her exhausted. Constant thirst. That strange shaky feeling that would hit her if lunch came even a little late. And what frustrated her most was this. She was trying. Walking more. Avoiding desserts. Choosing what she believed were healthy foods. Doing what she had been told to do. Then her daughter noticed something. Every single morning, Margaret started the day with the exact same healthy routine. The kind of routine millions of seniors would recognize instantly and probably defend. One habit. Every day. Nothing extreme. Margaret agreed to change just that one thing. No new medication. No complicated protocol. No expensive supplement. Just one intervention every morning consistently for 42 days. By week 2, her afternoon crashes were less severe. By week 3, the shakiness had almost disappeared. Her fasting readings began falling. Then 122. At her follow-up appointment, her A1C had dropped enough that her physician looked at the lab report twice. He asked what changed. Margaret told him. His response, that should not make this much difference. But the numbers said otherwise. And here's why this story matters. Because Margaret was not secretly doing something extreme. She was not biohacking. She was not spending hundreds of dollars. She simply stopped triggering the exact blood sugar surge her body had been fighting every single morning. Her doctor thought the problem was progression. The lab results told another story. Here is exactly what was happening inside Margaret's body. Mechanism number 1. Rapid glucose absorption. When you consume the wrong kind of morning meal in the wrong form, glucose can enter your bloodstream like a flash flood instead of a controlled drip. Your small intestine absorbs that sugar fast, your blood sugar surges, and your pancreas is forced into emergency insulin release. That repeated stress matters. Because after 60 pancreatic beta cells, the cells responsible for producing insulin, do not recover from repeated overload the way they once did. Mechanism number 2. Insulin resistance. This is where most people get confused. The issue is not always that your body cannot make insulin. Often, it is making plenty. The problem is that your muscle and liver cells stop listening. That is insulin resistance. Think of insulin as a key and your cells as locked doors. For years, the key worked perfectly. Then gradually, the locks become stiff. So your pancreas keeps making more insulin, trying harder, pushing louder, until eventually exhaustion begins. And that is when fasting glucose starts climbing. Mechanism number 3. Hepatic glucose overproduction. This one shocks most people. Your liver stores glucose as backup fuel. But when blood sugar regulation breaks down, especially in older adults, the liver starts releasing glucose when it should not. Even when you have already eaten. Even when your bloodstream already has enough sugar. So now you have incoming glucose from food plus extra glucose dumped by your liver at the same time. That is metabolic chaos. And this is why one seemingly harmless daily habit can create measurable damage. One trigger causes the spike. The spike worsens insulin resistance. Insulin resistance increases liver dysfunction. And that cycle repeats day after day until elevated A1C, fatigue, cravings, brain fog, and medication escalation start looking normal. That is not aging. That is a biological chain reaction. Now we need to talk about the habit. because this is the part that is going to make a lot of people uncomfortable. The hidden enemy is not candy, not soda, not cake. It is the healthy breakfast millions of seniors have been told to trust. Toast with jam, cereal, instant oatmeal, fruit juice, even that banana eaten by itself because it feels like the responsible choice. Let me explain what all of these have in common. They are fast glucose delivery systems when eaten the wrong way. Soft texture, rapid digestion, minimal protein, minimal fat, very little to slow absorption. So what happens? Within minutes, digestive enzymes break those carbohydrates into glucose. That glucose floods into your bloodstream. Your pancreas responds with a sharp insulin surge. Then 2 hours later, the crash begins. Fatigue, hunger, shakiness, brain fog, cravings. And because the breakfast looked healthy, most people never suspect it. This is exactly what makes it dangerous. A donut creates guilt. A bowl of sweetened instant oatmeal creates confidence. But metabolically, in many seniors, both can trigger damaging spikes when eaten in isolation. And fruit juice? That may be the worst offender of all. Because now you have stripped away much of the natural fiber, which means the sugar reaches your bloodstream even faster. Think of the difference like this. Eating a whole orange is a slow conversation. Drinking orange juice is someone kicking the front door off its hinges. This is the healthy habit sabotage nobody explains clearly enough. Because after 60, healthy is not just about what the food is. It is about structure, timing, combination, and absorption speed. The exact same food can behave completely differently depending on how you eat it. Which means the breakfast routine you have trusted for years may be the exact thing pushing your blood sugar higher every single morning. Let me show you something that should make you question everything you have been told about normal eating patterns. There is a well-studied Japanese population, particularly in Okinawan longevity communities, where rates of metabolic disease historically remain dramatically lower than what we see in Western aging populations. Same human biology, same pancreas, same glucose, completely different outcomes. Why? It was not magic. It was structure. Traditional eating patterns in these communities did not revolve around rapid sugar delivery first thing in the morning. Meals were built differently. Lower glycemic load, whole foods, fiber intact, smaller portions, protein distributed more intelligently, and perhaps most importantly, far fewer isolated carbohydrate assaults. This matters because blood sugar is not just about what you eat. It is about glucose velocity, how fast sugar enters the bloodstream. Think of your pancreas like an emergency response team. If glucose arrives in a controlled stream, the system handles it calmly. If glucose arrives like a 5-car pileup every morning, eventually the responders burn out. That is exactly what ancestral eating patterns protected against. There is also another detail most people miss. Traditional Okinawan eating followed what they called harahachi biyu. Eat until you are about 80% full. Not stuffed. Not overloaded. That simple habit reduces repeated insulin surges, lowers digestive strain, and improves metabolic flexibility over time. Compare that to the modern senior breakfast. Toast, juice, cereal, instant oats with honey, a carbohydrate avalanche before 9 a.m. Then people wonder why their fasting glucose keeps creeping upward every year. The body is not confused. It is responding exactly as biology predicts. The lesson here is not eat Japanese. The lesson is this. Human metabolism evolved around slower glucose exposure, not modern convenience foods marketed as healthy. And when you restore that principle, blood sugar often behaves very differently. Now let me give you the exact protocol. No guesswork. No extreme dieting. No complicated meal plan. Just a specific morning structure designed to stop the blood sugar spike before it starts. Step 1. Stop eating naked carbohydrates for breakfast. That means no toast by itself. No fruit by itself. No instant oatmeal by itself. No cereal with skim milk pretending to be a balanced meal. If the first thing hitting your system is fast-digesting carbohydrate without metabolic breaks, you're setting up the exact spike we have been talking about. Step 2. Protein first. This is non-negotiable. 20 to 30 grams. Eggs. Greek yogurt without added sugar. Cottage cheese. Smoked salmon. A properly balanced protein shake if chewing is difficult. Protein stimulates satiety hormones, slows gastric emptying, and dramatically reduces the speed at which glucose enters your bloodstream. Step 3. If you are eating carbohydrates, pair them intelligently. Never alone. Fruit with nuts. Oatmeal with chia seeds and protein. Whole grain toast with eggs and avocado. Because fat, fiber, and protein change the entire glucose response. Same food, different metabolic outcome. Step 4. Delay juice entirely. If you want fruit, eat actual fruit. Whole fruit comes with intact fiber, slower absorption, and a completely different blood sugar profile. Juice is concentrated sugar delivery. Step 5. Move for 10 minutes after breakfast. Not a workout. A walk. Light movement helps your muscles absorb glucose directly through GLUT4 transport pathways, reducing the burden on insulin. This is one of the fastest ways to blunt a post-meal spike. That is the protocol. Protein first. No isolated carbohydrates. Whole foods over liquid sugar. Smart food pairing. 10 minutes of movement. Simple, but biologically powerful. Because what we are doing here is not dieting. We are changing the metabolic message your breakfast sends your body every single morning. Now, I need to be very precise here. This is not a promise that you should throw away your medication. It is something far more important. It is the possibility that your body may finally stop fighting the same metabolic fire every single morning. Because when the underlying glucose spikes come down, something interesting often happens. The pressure on your system changes. Less insulin demand. Less pancreatic stress. Fewer violent crashes. More stable fasting numbers. And in some cases, under proper medical supervision, that can open the door to medication adjustments. That is not fantasy. That is how metabolic medicine works. Doctors do not reduce medication because someone wishes for it. They reduce medication when the numbers justify it. And numbers change when the biology changes. Think about what happens if you remove one major daily trigger. 5 days a week, 10 days, 30 days, 90 days. That is dozens of prevented glucose spikes your body no longer has to survive. Less repeated insulin flooding. Less inflammatory stress on pancreatic beta cells. Less forced glucose dumping from the liver. That cumulative effect matters. I have seen people assume their diabetes was simply progressing when in reality, part of the problem was a breakfast routine silently worsening their control every single day. Then the routine changes. Energy improves. Readings improve. The conversation with their physician changes. Sometimes the dose stays the same. Sometimes the escalation stops. Sometimes adjustments become possible. But here is the real promise. Even if medication never changes, feeling less exhausted, less shaky, less foggy, and less trapped by unstable blood sugar is already a meaningful win. Because the goal is not just fewer pills. The goal is metabolic control. The goal is protecting your nerves, kidneys, eyes, brain, and independence. And if a simple daily protocol helps move you in that direction, that is worth taking seriously. Before you make any changes, there is a mistake people make that can completely destroy the benefit of everything I have just shown you. Wrong form, wrong combination, wrong execution. And this is exactly where good intentions turn into disappointing results. Example number 1. Oatmeal. People hear oats are healthy and immediately grab flavored instant packets loaded with added sugar, powdered fillers, and ultra-processed starch that digests far faster than traditional oats. That is not the same food metabolically. Not even close. Steel-cut oats with protein, seeds, and healthy fat? Completely different glucose response. Instant apple cinnamon sugar packets eaten alone? That is practically a blood sugar launch sequence. Example number 2. Fruit. Whole fruit and fruit juice are not interchangeable. Chewing an apple with intact fiber is one biological event. Drinking a tall glass of apple juice is another entirely. One slows glucose entry. The other accelerates it. Example number 3. Healthy protein shakes. Some are basically dessert in disguise. 30 grams of sugar. Artificial syrups. Minimal fiber. If you are drinking something marketed for wellness but it spikes your glucose like a milkshake, the label has outsmarted you. And here is the biggest mistake of all. Thinking one good food cancels out a bad structure. Adding chia seeds to sugary cereal does not fix the cereal. Eating eggs after orange juice does not undo the spike that already happened. Sequence matters. Form matters. Food matrix matters. Because blood sugar control is not about isolated ingredients. It is about the biological behavior of the entire meal. This is why some people say, I tried eating healthier and nothing changed. What they changed was the label, not the metabolic structure. And if you miss that distinction, you can follow healthy advice for years while your fasting glucose keeps climbing anyway. So here is what I want to know. How old are you? And what does your fasting blood sugar usually look like in the morning? Be honest. 120? 145? 180? Or maybe you have never checked, but you crash after breakfast and assume that was normal. Drop it in the comments, because there is something powerful about seeing how many people are fighting the exact same metabolic battle and refusing to accept that worsening blood sugar is just an inevitable part of getting older. And if you decide to try this protocol, I want you to do something specific. Commit to 14 days. Not forever. 14 days. Track 3 things. Your fasting morning glucose, your afternoon energy, and whether those post-breakfast crashes start disappearing. Then come back and report. Write something like, Day 1, fasting 156. Then update us. Day 14, fasting 132. No afternoon crash. Because your progress might be the exact proof someone else needs to finally take this seriously. And if your numbers do not improve, that matters too. That tells us something. Because real progress is built on honest feedback, not wishful thinking. If this video gave you clarity, share it with one person over 60 who still believes orange juice and toast is the gold standard breakfast. Someone you care about. A parent, a spouse, a sibling, a friend. Because unstable blood sugar does not just threaten lab numbers. It threatens eyesight, kidney function, nerve health, energy, independence. And the cruel part is how quietly it happens. This information is not complicated. It has just never been explained clearly enough. That changes today.